New York. And so, like, we've been here longer than everyone else. And it was like ancient Americans that moved over to Africa and started those different groups of people and races over in Africa and all the rest of the world. Like, Asians are mixed with human genetics and Denisovan genetics. Africans are mixed with Homo erectus and Neanderthal genetics. We're like the ones over here in America that's basically only human genetics. So it's like everyone has to understand that we may all look the same, but we have different genetics and different haplogroups that everyone else don't have. And we can't take it from how everyone looks. They look similar with skin tone and hair, hair type and stuff like that. Like, we got to get a little more deeper into genetics and stuff like that to really kind of understand like everyone's position and like why they're saying what they're saying, why they feel the way they feel.
And most of them feel the way they feel because of the education they've been given. And the education they've been given has been under the control of the colonizers. And they haven't broke the cognitive dissonance in the revelations of the
Exactly.
reality of different groups of people was always on all of the continents. And they got, like you say, different haplogroups, different genetic strains. But based on the climate of the when the Earth was Tiamat, the climate was different. Everything was tropical. Now we got seasons, and different parts of the planet experience seasons differently, right? And the Darwinian philosophy that they push, all of the different groups changed from the dark melanated people to the lighter, straighter haired people due to climatic conditions. But we know it was laboratory experiments being done to create worker races of people. And this is why you got different genetic stocks is different.
And I think that's why, like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I think that's why, like, these people that we're calling Caucasians and Asians that have lighter skin and like that, they come up that way because they're showing recessive genetics from those different admixtures of things that were similar to humans. They're hominids, but they're not humans. They're different species, being Neanderthal, Denisovan, Homo erectus, Australopithecus, and that's causing different recessive genes to come up in some of those people that have that admixture that original people don't have.
Well, you got hierarchies of different bloodlines based on a length of stay on the planet. The bloodline known as the Lac Z bloodline is called the immortal bloodline, is the mother line mitochondrial link to the soils of the earth. And the mothers of the land can always be genetic tested with the earth to determine if their DNA is compatible with the geography based on their mitochondria. And they'll tell you where they're from. See, from here. These sisters over here, they can read the earth talk to them. And that's why Sister Freedom dots them. They can tell by the energy projected by the people from the land is different than the people who not from the land. And most of the time, the people not from the land carries an agenda that's belligerent to us. It's part of the propaganda war.
Exactly. And that's like if we would.
I'm not sure why it freezes up on you.
Like if we was to give blood transfusion, to take blood transfusions from some different people that look like us.
I think the ancestors are saying,
yeah, like we can actually die or we could kill them just from having different types of blood, although we look alike.
Yeah, different blood groups.
That's a fact. Well, thank you so much, Raf, for no, sorry if I'm just demolishing your name, but Rafferg.
So I think,
What is it?
no problem. Sorry, y'all. I just wanted to say that and get that off, just because I think we all just got to look a little deeper into like more science, like genetics, biology, and a bunch of other stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Sister Freedom. Let's go ahead and get our last go around.
Peace,
well,
everybody.
thank you for coming,
Peace and love.
Ferg, I think. Okay. Well, I
Right.
just say thank you.
What about
Rob.
the other sister? She don't got a question. Yeah, Nambi.
Always a pleasure because it's always an interesting conversation, and I learn something every single time that you come on. And I hope that you come back soon. Come back again with us. We always have fun when you're on here. And I'm gonna have some real mysterious questions for you next. I gotta look into some stuff and see
Okay.
see what you know about the Hindu world. Since that's supposed to be the first religion. But hey, Sword.
Hinduism not a religion.
Oh well, okay. Okay.
There's
Well,
only three religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those
okay.
are all three Roman controlled constructs.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Why do you say Hinduism is not a religion? Why do you say that?
right.
Because Hinduism have so much more than just a religion would have, right? And they have a lot of. It's really more. The term Hindu is more applicable to the people than the practices of the people. They have what's called spirit science. Spirit science is not the same as religion. Spirit science is supposed to give you keys to liberate your soul. Religion is supposed to lock you down in a self-binding ritual to restrict yourself. They don't have the same purpose at its source. Am I
But
following
don't
about
Hindus
that?
believe in the caste system?
Yeah, but the caste system has nothing to do with religion. That's
But I'm
some
saying,
Anunnaki shit.
yeah, no, I'm thinking just in terms of balance, right?
Mhm.
In terms of energy. So if there's a segregation of people based on quote unquote class, it doesn't breed balance. It doesn't breed not equality but equity. It doesn't it's a unhealthy, unbalanced type of dynamic.
Hinduism was in place long before the caste system.
Correct.
The caste system is a later addition when the Anunnaki wars, those ones at the top, the royal families, is Enlil children. The ones at the bottom called Dravidians with the afros looking like the Jacksons in the 70s, those Inky kids. They had to take the bottom because Enlil pulled rank on Inky and put his children at the bottom, put Inky children at the bottom and his children on the top. It's the same with Zeus putting Alexander in charge to usurp the Greeks in order to establish Rome. It's the same thing. But the religion came out of Rome as a social control mechanism. The spirit sciences in Hinduism was there before any of the political dynamics of the caste system was established, because it was supposed to be a spiritual community that was originally set up. And that's why a lot of the Sanskrit words have a lot of power in them. Because as long as you're trying to be them, they 100% right. You are an imbecile in a legal jurisdiction. And you keep traversing on their jurisdiction because you don't know no better. As soon as you learn better, you separate. Ain't nobody getting to their trust until we get done with this shit. And then you ain't gonna have to look for what's yours because the order has already been given. Give everybody what they rightfully earned, what they rightfully deserve by the law of right, which is the law of righteousness. Right? So if you took their family shit, this the Jubilee year for you to give it back. We gotta have enough memory of the culture because all of the parts of the story is in our culture, told in song and dance and art. Where a picture worth 1,000 words, where we reading pictures, right? Because we didn't just read the written word. All of our written documents was kept at Big Mama house. So if you go back and you find out that a lot of our elders' birth records got burned up in the town square, in the city hall building, and they all burned them down to get rid of the records. But the records that predate 1492 is kept in caves and national parks so that we can't stumble across them. And then they flood us with misinformation to deliberately mislead the people. And anybody that try to tell us what's going on become marked for death. That's a Steven Seagal Italian knock for you. Marked for death.
In my head, not even in my head, like in my body, in my spirit, whenever, like, all I feel like and all I can sense, the best reference I have is I grew up watching Sailor Moon in Italy, and I've recently had it on in the background just playing, and I'm just blown away by all the symbolism in there to begin with. And all I truly feel and see is like Crystal City. That's where I feel like I'm going next.
Right. The Crystal City is going to land in Colorado on Emerald Lake. It's a jumper ship. That's the Cordoba, the city of gold they couldn't find. Because when the Anunnaki Wars took place, when Enlil launched his power attack on Earth, that's the ship that Enki's son Marduk took to Nibiru. And when Enlil's son Marduk took over Earth, Enki's son Marduk took over Nibiru so that the Enlil won't shoot for his father's seat of power, which would have really been fucked. So when the ship come back, that's where it's going to land. In that county that Emerald Lake is in, it's called, I think it's called Bow County. Mm-hmm. And that county is shaped like the Liberty Bell.
So now that I'm talking to you, I actually, when I was a child, like elementary school child, I read a book that talked about this like crater hitting somewhere, creating a lake, and then like these vampires or like other beings came out. And I keep thinking about that book a lot.
What's the name of it?
I don't remember at all, because it was an Italian book too, because I was in Italy at the time. Mm-hmm. But then years
because you know they got books over in Europe that we don't get, we don't have over here, and the information that they put out in the public domain over there is no ways the same as the information we get. When we get Oxford University's History of the World and Georgetown University History of the World, Georgetown is over here, Oxford is over there. But when you look at the history of the world, they tell it two entirely different stories.
That, like, I follow that because I'm assuming it's because, you know, the experience, the life experience that I've had, where I've lived in 3 different continents, and I did go through the Italian educational system. And I say it often, but I haven't really learned anything since I've been in the States. I've learned how to play the system because the universities have always tried to like tell me one thing over the other, as far as like what my progress was. But then I moved to Atlanta. A few years later, I went to visit NOLA for the first time with a girlfriend. We walked into a voodoo shop, and we ended up speaking to a woman who was doing readings, and we ended up speaking to her for hours. And she was reading my friend and like giving her messages and all sorts of things. And then she looks at me, and at that time, plenty of quote unquote weird things had happened in my life, but I never really truly embraced it because my grandma was schizophrenic and my mom has a ton of trauma from it. So it's never really spoken about until I started asking questions recently. But that woman, when she came to me, she just looked at me for a few minutes and she was like, I can't read you. Like, all I'm getting is deep waters. And
that's your mother line's protection, a veil that they put up for the oracles. That should have told her a couple of things. That one, that you come from an earth tribe, because everybody, but your earth tribe is water benders. When your birthday?
January 28th. So I'm in Aquarius.
Yeah. So you write on the energy signature for that. That's why she couldn't see nothing but the waters.
And I love the water.
So when you go back and you study the customs of old Italy, they had the same Big Mama. You know what I'm talking about? The old lady that make, come here, son, sit down and eat. You're not leaving my house without a plate. That lady, right? That's an earth trait. That's not Anunnaki. We do that on Earth. It's a mother thing to do. And on the feminine planet, you can tell those native, because these women have to feed you before you leave, because if something happened to you, she could have gave you your last meal and received the blessing for feeding you before you went out.
So if she wasn't able to read me, but I also wasn't trying to make it easy for her to read me.
I know, because you wired that way from your life experiences and your genetic memory.
So what about when I do go get readings and they're very on point? Is it because I'm more open?
You participate.
Okay.
Right, because you have to trust the person doing the reading enough to participate, and then they can pick it all up.
Right. And speaking of, Italian ways, a few years ago, I was listening to Imani heavily, and she was talking about she was just not gonna interact with us anymore and stop going live because she was catching a lot of backlash for it. And I remember feeling
Who is she?
The Hood Healer.
Okay, all right, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, because that's how I found you, through her. But this was before.
She asked good questions too.
What's up?
She asked really good questions.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I saw that live and I was just shook. I was so confused, and not confused at all. Like, it was the weirdest feeling. And luckily, I had one person that I could share the video with, and they confirmed a lot of things that I had been feeling, going through my whole life. I'm gonna stop going on live. I'm gonna stop doing the readings. And I freaked out a little bit because she was just like so on point, and like I was receiving her messages and whatever she was saying. But anyways, I go to an artist market, and there's a book there that's called Italian Witchcraft. And I just pick it up, and the girls are like, that's so funny. My partner didn't want me to bring this book. It's a rare book, but I just brought it. And then when I was reading it, I was like, I feel like I know all this stuff, but I don't know how I know the stuff, because it's
genetic memory. When you pick up a book and it's Italian, real true Italian magic is based around food.
I believe that.
Spirit cooking. Like a lot of what Abramovich was doing with spirit cooking, she used the blood rites of the Babylonian blood magic and instituted them into the Italian cooking. And she's from Russia. He was a an agent that came over here in a witness protection program from Russia through the CIA. That's why Abramovich was even here. But she was protected by the old man George. But Bush brought the individual over here. Right? I ran across a lot of people telling me to abandon the people that sent me on the mission because they didn't like the way they looked. But they sent me to go extract their ass from some dumb shit. That like that make this shit make sense. You a soldier, I'm a soldier. The general sent me to come get you, and you want me to abandon the general in order to run off with you. Make it make sense. It don't work like that.
So, like, is it possible that Grandpa knew more things that he ever shared with anyone?
Yeah, a lot of what was going on in World War II was kept secret because they didn't want their children privy to that type of traumatic information.
But at the same time, he's the one that was married to my grandma, the schizophrenic, and
that just means she was an untrained oracle.
I'm aware, but nobody in the family saw it like that.
Yeah,
especially now.
You're the only one supposed to figure it out.
Okay.
That's your job. You the family redeemer.
The family is all spread out. I don't talk to anybody from.
You still the family redeemer. You still the family redeemer. No, that don't matter. Your birth position in your family tree classified you as the family redeemer. That's why you're born under Aquarius. We're going into the Aquarian age. The water signs rule with the wisdom of the ages.
So, like, regardless of the fact that nobody in my family
hears
what I'm talking about,
look, they don't have to hear you. When the shit get done clearing up, they gonna look for you because they're not gonna be able to get to their family bank without you.
And whatever information I feel like I'm still missing, that's just gonna.
It'll come
in.
Yeah, because if you get everything at one time, you won't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Knowledge comes in degrees and by level. The level of understanding increases the level of information. If you're not mentally prepared to process it, digest it, and apply it, it has to wait until you develop to the point you are. And that's why it takes some of us 50 years to be an elder, but others are elders at 33 or 42 or 44. Because it takes us different levels. The older souls take the longest to wake up because they do everything slow.
It's just, I'm so grateful for you because, like I said, I've had so many questions, especially like things just started happening when I got to Atlanta. Like my diet started changing, just like weird things. And that's really when I started becoming aware of like these questions that I've had. And then this like anger towards men, although like personally in my life, I've had shitty boyfriends, but I've had great men around me. And I never quite understood where that.
So let me explain it to you so you can understand. The reason why a lot of women are put off with men is because there's been an ongoing rape campaign, desecration of holy places, which mean the mutilation of women, both vaginally and both the mammary glands, desecration of the holy places. The women who are in sync with Mother Earth know that she's going through the same thing, right? They cut down the tree of life in South Africa because that's where we used to store our memory. So when we reconnect back to the tree of eternity, the tree of life, but we put our hands on it and it grounds, and our consciousness will feed through our body and our DNA will begin unlocking in levels. And we used to do these rituals. The major one, the mother tree was in South Africa at the Yoni of Earth's Yoni. But you had these trees all over the world where tribes would go to upload and download information. The trees are record keepers of the earth as well as the stones, right? So we go and we put our hands on the tree and our bare feet to the earth, and whatever signature our family over the years is left in the tree uploads into our system through a cycle of information exchange between you and the tree. That's why they is so gung-ho on chopping these trees down. They got a whole campaign been running in South America for the last 200 years, and they can't get the Amazon rainforest chopped down fast enough. But now it's too late because all these tribes waking up.
Okay, so South America cutting down trees. Then why is South America in the state that it's in? And I'm particularly thinking about Venezuela. Like, my mom went maybe 5-6 years ago and had a mental breakdown when she was there because of like how scarce the resources are.
They still have war energy hovering over them. The whole South America, Central America, North America has been in a warlock for the last 200 years. So when we go back to Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, and these different countries down there, in certain areas where you go, where the warriors fought the hardest, where the energy is the strongest, and you get caught up in that war energy. And if you're not strong enough to absorb and transmute it so you can use it, it'll break your ass down like a midget breaking down a giant. You won't ever understand what's going on because you're not reading the lay of the land and the energy of what's been going on. We've been in a long 500-year war, right? And they've used every artifice of deception to keep us from ever figuring out what the fuck they was doing.
So back to the paperwork, and I apologize if I'm being dense.
You got to keep coming back because it's a question that needs to be clarified, not just for you.
Exactly. So like, what is the strategy for someone that doesn't have the material or financial means at the moment to hold them over?
That ain't nothing they can do. They just got to do the best they can until they're in a different position.
Okay.
But everybody finna feel the pinch.
Okay.
When we get to the flip point, everybody gonna feel the pinch. Ain't no escaping somebody. You can try to avoid the suffering, but it's coming. Okay. And it's not doomsday prophecy. It's transition from old to new. It's labor pains, birthing pains. A woman understands that better than anybody else. You ain't gonna escape the pinch. You're gonna feel it.
The other thing that I kind of keep thinking about in terms of like paperwork and your words about like people are just gonna start dropping around us, repeat in my head all the time. And I mean, I feel like I've been talking to robots for a long time.
A lot of these motherfuckers is.
So the other thought that I had recently is like, are they actually gonna start like dropping around us? Or
they already started. They got a whole movie out called I forgot the name of it. It's like sudden death or something.
Right.
Everybody blaming it on, but this shit was gonna happen whether they do it or not because everybody not synced to the mitochondria of the earth, and that's how Earth get rid of the parasites.
Okay, so that's what you mean, like because I was like the other thing that it's making sense to me or coming to me, it's the fact that like consciousness and awareness. So like obviously the more you tap into yourself, what you're seeing with your eyes of this reality, it's going to be entirely different than everyone else around you.
Well, I'm gonna give you a prime example. If you went to Chicago in '92, all of the suburb cities had big strip malls. That was the thing to invest in. If you go there now, all of those strip malls is empty. Where in the fuck is all these people at? Like nobody's noticing that there's millions and millions of people literally not here no more. Some of them, right? We went to bed one night, woke up, and they don't exist. Right, but we still in the same holographic construct, so the layout looks the same. But some of the what they call non-actionable players, in the game, just not in the game no more. We passed that level now.
Okay, I have tons of questions. So you let me know when it's time for somebody else, because I have tons of questions. But in terms
the name of that movie was Die Suddenly.
Die Suddenly?
Yeah.
I mean, I rewatched Avatar before 2020 hit, and granted, I was stoned, but when the movie was over, I was so shook because I was like,
because it's the story of the Anunnaki's arrival on Earth.
Yeah, I was like,
all you got to do is remember this: when we was breathing the double oxygen molecule, we were governed by what's called the platinum group metals. They came platinum group metals, and our skins were pinks and greens of different olive hues. When you look at the olive, it's not just green olives. You got black olives, red olives. You from Italy, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. But these different shades of the olive, it was used to represent the different daughters of Isis, which was the 12 daughters of Isis and the sun. The last two daughters, Scotta and Scotia, was the founders of Scotland and Ireland. These was the ones they ran out when St. Patrick talked about he was hunting the snakes. So we say olive complexion because it's a series of colors.
And my mom is olive tone, and if she spends 2 minutes under the sun, she just entirely dark. But in terms of universal law, right? If energy is neither created nor destroyed, and if everything you put out must come back to you, then what did women do that we've been oppressed for so long?
The women didn't do anything. That's what made it so evil. The women are being oppressed for being good, for being inherently righteous at the root, and being the heirs to earth. This is what their punishment was for. It's a war, but it comes across as punishment because you can only see the side that of the war that we own, the victim side, the defender side, the black side of the chessboard. They coming in from the attacker side, the white side of the chessboard. And that's why they use these color designations to divide us, so we can't never figure out the game they playing.
So it's not because we got to, like, it's not because we misused our own power once we created man?
No, that was done by permission of Prime Creator. It was a joint venture between Mother Earth, the Queen of Heaven and Earth, and Prime Creator to create men for companionship and protection, because they knew that the motherfuckers was coming. And the women back then had instant manifestation abilities that was usurped using conjuring science. That's why they put the moon there, to handicap the women. That's what the story of Eve is all about. If people pay attention to the story, the first rat on record was motherfucking Adam, bitch ass, because he didn't protect his woman, and then he told on her and gave her up to the enemy, who was masquerading as their god. Where she was standing firm, he threw her to the wolves. Now that's a bitch ass, coward ass motherfucker if I ever seen one.
There was a time that you were talking about, I believe it was you,